Today was a very, very, very quick session. I wrote for about 20 minutes, and that was it. For a typical Saturday, obviously that's not usually what I'm putting up, but I am extremely, extremely busy today. I've got a lot of things to do, so had to get in my session early and just get out. There was a time before I started doing this, a year ago, where I would have just skipped today. I would have said it's too busy, you can't do it, what have you. You have no time, just don't write at all. I talk all the time about how doing a little bit is going to be way more beneficial than doing nothing at all. And this today was a very, very good example of that. In the span of about 20 minutes, I was able to revise about 3 paragraphs. So I went through and made some revisions. You'll see basically on the screen there. Basically, I've kind of highlighted in red and did the little side comments on some things that need to be reworked about what I wrote. And so that was today. Not necessarily a whole lot of new words put down, but just refining a bit of what I wrote basically over the past couple days, and just going through and making things sound a little bit cleaner. That's basically it. A big part of writing, and the reason why I usually will preach the sort of write every day mentality, is not so much about building up the habits of being consistent with your habits and sort of continue to build your skill. It's because you stay engaged with your story. When you take days off, you lose the engagement. The story is no longer the thing that's the most frontal thing in your mind. Your imagination is no longer churning out what needs to happen next. In those kind of quiet hours when you're not working, when you're alone, or maybe you're watching like a movie, your mind kind of wanders. You're not thinking about your story when you skip your writing days. That is probably as devastating, to be honest, as not as simply just losing the skill of writing, because you need to be engaged with what you do. You need to know more or less where your story's headed, and you need to have a sense of this story. Like, there needs to be a sense of sort of magic about your story when you're thinking of it. It goes back to kind of that Hemingway quote about how you have to stay drunk on writing so reality doesn't come in. That's when I talk about the magic of this, right? When I talk about the sort of when I talk about maintaining that in the front of your mind, about kind of keeping it at the forefront of your imagination, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about staying drunk on your writing, keeping your writing going. Because when you stop thinking about it, when it starts slipping from your mind, the magic goes away, and that's when the self-doubt comes in. That's when all of your inner demons and all the psychological resistance starts to come in. So by going every day to the page, you're keeping the story in the front of your mind. You've kept the magic alive, basically. These stories really are, I mean, Stephen King once compared them to kind of like a bonfire, where every character comes in and throws, a log on the fire, and you try to keep this fire going for a while. It's very, very true, but not just in terms of character, but also you itself. I mean, it's a bonfire, and every day you have to feed it. You have to keep feeding it. If you don't feed it, the fire starts to go out. When that fire starts to dim, it can become harder to get it going again, and at times it just goes out completely, which is why you miss a day, and that sort of procrastination builds up, and soon enough you haven't written in a week, and then you start wondering, maybe this project wasn't that good anyways, and all those other psychological things of doubt start to come into you. It's about showing up every day and at least getting something just to keep your interest alive, just to keep that magic still going. With that, I'm going to be signing off here. Amongst the things I've got to do today, I will be doing a podcast later this evening. I don't know if I'll post it late tonight. Like, if I do, it'll be probably near midnight, or if it'll be posted perhaps tomorrow. It's going to be with a friend of mine, also a fellow writer. They do a podcast out on the West Coast, so we're kind of calling in, doing that. Problem is, I'm on East Coast time, they're on West Coast time, and so early evening for them is kind of like late evening for me. Amongst everything else I have to get done today. So with that though, I keep an eye out for that video to be kind of posted up here. In the meantime, I will see you all tomorrow.